Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the TNT podcast, the Tahj and Tory podcast. This is episode 8. We're going on strong. We're trying to aim for 10, for real. Right now, we're excited to have on the show today Hailey Minter. Well, let's give her a warm welcome real quick.
Thank you.
Coming on.
I'm excited to be here.
It's been in the works for a minute, so I appreciate your patience and all that.
Of
you know
course.
what I mean? So I'm excited for this one. Before we get started, let's start with a little disclaimer. We're here at Salle University, my university, so all views, thoughts, and opinions expressed are my own, and do not express the views, thoughts, and opinions of a Salle University. So without further ado, let's get to know Hailey a little bit. Appreciate you for coming on, for real.
Thank you for having me.
You know what I mean? Let's talk about how we met. I say this all the time with different guests I have on the show. Some people I know, some people I really don't know.
You met them somehow.
Exactly, right? For real, word. But how do we meet, Hailey? Do you know the story, low key?
Yeah, of course I know the story.
Okay.
So the best night of
let's talk about it.
Was it 2023 already? Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Probably
February.
the best night of 2023.
Yeah. Was it January? It was January.
Yeah, January, the NFC Championship, the night that the Eagles.
We was at a bar in Manayunk.
Yes.
Was with our friends or whatever. And, beforehand, like during the game, whatever, we was eating and everything. And then you told me, like, kind of like you was interning for, like, you told me, like, your kind of college story a little bit. So I'm like, wait a minute, like, he seems interesting, kind of. So I told you I wanted to have you on a podcast, whatever. And that's how we kind of low-key, like, met, you know what I mean? What do you think, you know what I mean?
No, I would totally agree.
For real.
Yeah.
And I thought, like, you had an interesting story. You're from Jersey.
Yes.
We're from Jersey, you know what I mean? So I was like, put two and two together. It's only right that we had to have Hailey Minter on, you know what I mean? Right. So, talk about, we're both seniors. Mm-hmm. How's your senior year going so far? What do you think for you? It's the final stretch. Today's your last day of class, I heard.
Yes, yep.
You know what I mean? So how's senior year? How was your senior year so far?
So my senior year actually wrapped up this morning.
Definitely.
I finished my last class of my undergraduate career, which is very exciting.
Jeez.
So I would say I'm 3 finals away from a degree, which is kind of crazy. So I guess if I was to summarize the year as a whole, there was a lot of growth and I think personal development within like my own self-awareness.
For sure.
Which I think has benefited me for the best, especially moving into like this new chapter of my life. So I'm definitely could say that my senior year was one of the most impactful and formative years of my collegiate career.
Wow, I love that, for real. Now, you obviously we're both after this. It's just the real world, you know what I mean? That's just how it is. Do you have any anxiety or anything? I know you have some lined up. We'll talk about that later in a few minutes. But do you have any, because I feel like I do. I don't know why. I don't know, because after college, it's just, you're just put out there, you know what I mean? You won't see, like, daily interactions with people like that anymore. Just with your coworkers 24/7. You know what I mean? He was telling me about that, how, you work at your job and how, like, it's kind of a lot different.
It's hard to relate to, because you relate to everybody when you're in college, because you all basically in the same boat.
Like, you're all youth, you know what I mean? You're all the same age. So for you, do you have any, like, are you, like, skeptical, optimistic? Do you have any anxiety for the future for you? What do you think?
Anxiety, I'm a very anxious person just by nature.
Obviously.
So I think there's always a little bit of anxiety attached to anything I do, whether that be good or bad. I don't think anxiety necessarily has to be a bad thing.
For sure.
But I would say mostly optimistic for the future. I'm lucky enough to have some solid plans. After I graduate next week, and then I have been interning with the company that I'm signing on with full-time for. I'm coming up on 1 year with the company, so
congrats.
Thank you. I'm pretty integrated with my team, and I work with the best people and for the best people, so I'm very grateful to be able to have that solid foundation transitioning from undergrad into real adult life.
For sure, definitely. So let's talk about college real quick. I know it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of a, I guess, boring topic. What would you say? Like, you know what I mean? Like, talking about academics and all that.
I mean,
like,
yeah, but
we're on a college campus, so why not? You know what I mean?
Yeah, but in between that, like, I always want to know like what you learn like outside of like school.
Definitely, for sure.
Because you learn, like, for me, like I learned much more like outside of academics than I did going to school and stuff.
For sure.
Just like the experience being on your own, like having to fend for yourself. Like, you learn a lot more by just living by
Definitely,
yourself.
for sure. you're a what's your major? International business, right?
Yes, international business and marketing.
For sure. So talk a little bit about that. How has that been for you? What made you want to get into that? Through high school and all that. What talk about it a little bit.
For sure. So I guess I'll start from the beginning. I was very passionate about musical theater when I was a younger kid, and then moving into my teenage years, and it was super impactful on just the way I viewed the world and interaction with other people and various things like that. And I like to think that a lot of my core values are rooted in my experience within theater. And I always thought I was going to go into theater professionally. I thought I was going to be on Broadway the whole nine. But my dad, on the flip side, was always in business. He was always wearing a suit. And unfortunately, when I was going into my senior year, he unexpectedly passed away.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
Thank you. But it really put me into a perspective that I'm so grateful for, looking back 4 years after the fact now, of just being able to take my situation and kind of change it for the better. And that's really what I wanted to do going into college. I was almost thrown into a loop senior year of all my plans were uprooted, but looking back now, I don't think I would be the person I am today without it. So in the moment, weathered the storm, came out the other side, and I'm definitely grateful to have overcome that adversity.
For sure, what?
But was able to take everything from theater and realize that I wanted to put myself in my dad's shoes and do what he did.
For sure. Are you a daddy's girl, you think?
Yes, for sure. Yeah, my dad was my best friend, it still is.
For sure, definitely.
But yeah, so I really just wanted to go into business, and that's what I did. I stumbled on LaSalle, was able to come here and connect with our dean at the time, Dean Mary Sheila.
Sheila, definitely.
Yes, so I started an international business, immediately fell in love with it, was able to take the tools I learned in theater and apply them to business, and then eventually I realized that I liked marketing as well, so I added marketing onto my major, and then that really just shifted into college life. So then I was taking classes and working, but like I said earlier, my journey wasn't the most traditional, so I kind of had to, as every college student does, figure it out on their own. But I was able to luckily find some paid internships that were able to support me every single day and make sure I had gas in my car and food in my stomach and all of that, but also be able to learn and gain those valuable skills that I was learning inside the classroom, but was able to implement them into my day-to-day activities, which I'm so thankful for, because I don't think I would be in the position that I'm in without those internship and work experience. So I've definitely been able to have a lot more external academic experience than the traditional student, but it's something that I would not forfeit for the world.
For sure. I love that. What? I talk about this all the time, I feel like some majors, like finance and all that, it's one of the hardest majors here. I always talk about that. You know what I mean?
Finance,
So,
accounting,
yeah, right? Talk about that a little bit. Has there been any challenges you had to go through within academically, and how did you pull yourself out of that a little? Because mental health is a big thing right now within colleges and all that. It's May. I think it's Mental Health Awareness Month. So I'm a big advocate for that. So talk about that. What was the different challenges you had to go through?
Most definitely. I think holistically in a college experience, there's a wide variety of challenges, and it varies depending on the person and their personal situation and everything that is attached to that. But for myself personally, I think that obviously if we're talking about academics, there are those challenging classes. There's your requirements that are needed to graduate. So your accounting, your finance, and I am not a math person. I've never been good with numbers.
Well, you're telling me.
That is why I love my marketing degree.
For sure.
So those classes were definitely challenging, but here at LaSalle, we have our small class sizes, which were super beneficial because I was always able to have that super close relationship with my professor, that there was open dialogue, and I was never too afraid to ask a dumb question, so to say. But I would say socially, I came into college in the height of a pandemic. I came my fall of my freshman year. No one was even on campus, so it was navigating finding friends, which in that period of time I found it very simple just because we were in such a small community and you could only see so many people. But transitioning into the spring semester of my freshman year, we were locked in a dorm where you had to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner by yourself. You didn't get to really integrate with your community of fellow freshmen, so that was definitely a difficult challenge to overcome, and I think that it took a toll on my mental health, as I think it did many. But on the flip side, looking back now 2 years later, I think that I did also gain a lot of grit and determination from those days of you have a lot of alone time to think. And I think some of my best ideas for my future were generated in those tough times, and I just wasn't able to see through that, kind of through the clouds, like I said earlier, weathering the storm. But I think that I really had to narrow down what was important to me to get through those. I was able to graduate in 3 years because of the pandemic.
Congrats,
Thank you. So I just think that you have to look for the positive in every situation, and that's kind of what I did throughout my college career. So coming out, I'm very grateful for it.
For sure. Definitely. I love that. Now, did you always have, like, you know, like a positive attitude when it comes to different things like that? Where do you think, like, when it comes to, you know, academically, talking to your family, of course, you know, talk a little bit about that. Do you have, like, a solid support system back at home? You know what I mean? Family, friends, all that, you know?
Yeah, most definitely. My closest friends are the best blessing I could ever have.
For sure.
They deal with all my ups and downs. Obviously, we're human. I would love to say that I am 100% positive all of the time.
For sure, yeah.
But
We're all human, yeah.
We're human.
Big believer in that you have to cry through your problems before you solve them.
That's a good mentality.
So that's how I approach that. But yeah, my family, I have a great relationship with my mom, my brothers, my sister's my best friend.
Really?
So really leaned on them. They dealt with phone call after phone call, good and bad throughout college. So I'm very glad that they were able to ride this roller coaster with me as well.
Definitely. You know, I did my research on you a little bit, you know, going through your social media and all that. And I saw you had a lot of internships within your college career.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like you're very much involved here on campus when it comes to internships, whatever, etc. What was like the most eye-opening thing? Like what did you take most from like some of those experiences, you think, you know?
I would say the most eye-opening thing throughout all of my internships would be the vast difference between being a student and being a professional.
Ooh, that's a good one, yep.
I think that within a classroom setting, you are obviously set up with all the tools that you need to succeed, especially at a university like LaSalle, where it is more hands-on and it is more student-focused, and the professors really do care about you overall as a human. You're not a number.
Definitely.
But on the flip side, again, in an internship, you kind of have to ask those questions. You have to ask for help, and you have to understand that you are in a position of learning, and that learning is ongoing, and that, again, there's no such thing as a stupid question. So I had to learn how to ask for help, how to place myself in a position of learning, and I think that you have to separate the two. Because if you're going to go into that professional career, you have to be a self-advocate. And that was definitely the biggest thing I took out of. And I'm very glad that I was able to have that experience before I got into the professional world. Because I think if I would have gotten thrown to that in a full-time role, I would be very timid and naive.
For sure. Definitely.
Which internship would you say you learned the most from? And what would you say you picked up the most from it as far as, like, you know, what you're going to be doing when you're going into your career?
For sure. I would say it's twofold. There's a difference between what I learned the most, meaning what I need to grow and succeed in my career, and then there's also the learning of what I didn't like and what I don't enjoy and what I can't see myself in the future. And I think I had experiences in both. So I was lucky enough to intern for Comcast, specifically within Comcast Business this past summer, and it made me realize that I'm not fit for a big Fortune
corporate type thing? Okay.
I believe they're Fortune 100, maybe 500.
Really? Oh,
I don't know the exact ranking for them, but it just wasn't for me.
Definitely.
I like having those relationships with my coworkers. I like being able to have a spot at the table and have my ideas be integrated into actionable items, which got me to my current company, Watchbox, where I am learning a ton. I found a natural passion for horology, and I'm able to take something that I'm passionate about and turn it into a career. And we are more of a startup mentality, which is kind of how my brain works. I like to think I have the entrepreneur spirit.
Definitely. I could see it.
So yeah, just being able to have a career and a passion coexist has been so important to me. And having that experience at Comcast, although it wasn't exactly what I was looking for, I definitely learned from it. And I'm excited to take the skills that I learned there and put them into anything I do in my future path.
For sure, I love that. So talk about, like, I preach heavily on the business school for some reason. I don't know why. Like, they've just been so supportive over me and a number of other students too, like that I had on a podcast. So talk about that a little bit. How has, you know, the business school kind of prepared you and to go into the real world or anything like that? Or you know, do you get that support too as well? You know what I mean? Talk about a little bit.
So I may be biased because I am a strong believer in the business school and I am a student here, but I would 100% wholeheartedly say that it is the best school within the university, and in my personal opinion.
No shade to others.
No, of course. We love every school in the university.
Definitely.
But in my opinion, I really do think it would give you the best business education within the city.
Same, yeah.
Which is what I got out of my experience. So I have nothing but amazing things to say. The faculty and staff and even my fellow students have been so incredibly supportive and encouraging about anything I've ever done. And just being able to go to Dean Ugas and have a conversation with him and talk about his house in Texas and his awesome pool.
Yes.
That's really not an experience you're getting at other schools, or being able to call Kathy Finnegan and pick her brain.
She's my favorite person here on this campus.
Same here.
Are you kidding me? Like, what? It's insane.
Being able to just chat with her and speak different ideas. And Penny Grobe has always been a mentor to me throughout my time here, and just various professors that I see in passing. Brother Jerry, I only had him for one class, but he remembers my name. He always sees me, and that's just something I feel like you don't get out at other schools. And
definitely. Are you kidding me?
Just that support, it's heartwarming, and it makes you feel welcomed in a family atmosphere, and I think it fosters growth more than it would at a school that's a 500 lecture hall.
Yeah. Who is that? Who would you say is that one person here on campus, or whether it be in the business school, or LaSalle University in general, that you really go to, whether that's your advisor or a friend that you made, professor, etc. Who's that one person that kind of, picked you out of a certain situation for help or anything like that? Who's that one person for you?
I wouldn't say it's necessarily a person, because I've definitely, I believe it takes a village.
For sure.
So there's been a lot of impactful professors that I've had at LaSalle, but I would say the professor that has really been very realistic with me within my career journey and everything has been Dr. Chia. He's been my advisor.
Ooh, okay, I know him.
Since my freshman year, and he's really seen me in all elements and steps of my student career and professional career, and he's always been very transparent on everything I ask, and all of his advice is, in lack of a better word, again, very real, and I value that now coming out of it. Sometimes there was things that he said, and I'm like, really? But looking back now as a graduate soon to be, I'm definitely grateful just for the honesty. I think that especially within a professor-student relationship, that's so beneficial, and I'm very grateful for that.
Definitely. I recently saw she was in Germany. No, like travel study trip in Germany, in Paris, right?
Yes.
In France, whatever. Yep. Talk about that a little bit. It looks, bro. I was like, I'm like, dang, I wish I went. Like, I would have loved to have gone.
You definitely should have came.
Like, what? Talk a little bit about that. How fun was that for you? Talk about the experience. You guys was there for like 10 days.
Yes.
I know a lot of people that went. How was it for you?
Fun was an understatement.
For sure.
There was many educational factors to our trip as well, but we were also allowed to have our fun on the flip side.
For sure, definitely.
So an international business major, you technically have to study abroad as part of your requirements to fulfill your graduation. But through COVID and just navigating a pandemic, they put that on hold. I believe they did almost like an online immersion program for a few years, but this year they were opening the program back up. So I was lucky enough to be one of the 21 students, I believe, on the trip. It was great. We did, I want to say, is 8 weeks of classes where you have class twice a week. You learn a little bit more about the countries that you're visiting. So everything from like the German education system to architecture in France and everything in between. And really bond with your classmates to get to know one another. But what I wasn't prepared for, which was honestly the best part of my trip, was how close I got to the other students on the trip. And I wish I met some of them earlier within my collegiate career, because as a senior, some of these people are the most knowledgeable people I've ever met. Definitely. And they're just such fun energy, and I wish I met them early in my career here at LaSalle so that I would be able to build upon that. But excited to connect with them after graduation as well. But yeah, the trip was just amazing to be able to be in Germany. I believe we visited 5 cities, and immerse yourself within the culture that you've been learning about there's no words to describe it. Definitely. To be completely honest with you, it's mesmerizing and an experience that you think you're never going to get. And then going to Paris as a lover of fashion and food, again, there is no words to describe it.
Yeah.
I'm almost speechless thinking about it. It was the best 10 days of my life. Seeing the Eiffel Tower in person is just something it's surreal. You never think you're going to see it. It's almost like a fairy tale. As a child, you see pictures, but you never think it's going to be something that you're able to go on and afford and put all this hard work in. So it was almost a full circle moment for me of I've put in the hard work these past 3 years, and I'm able to relish in the celebration on this trip. And the vast majority of students on the trip were seniors, so everyone was just talking about their futures and their passions and their hobbies and their objective for where their life's going to go, which really gave me a different perspective and made me appreciate the people I was on the trip with more, and I would do it 10 times over again.
Would you say Paris is your favorite city?
Most definitely. I think other people would disagree. I know a lot of people on the trip were more favorable towards Germany, but just where my personal hobbies and passions lie, I love France.
I would. We was planning on like my family, because for his graduation we all went to Hawaii.
Ooh.
So
not my
yes, it was, bro.
Graduation was Puerto Rico.
No,
my graduation was Puerto Rico.
When do you go?
Your family needs to call my family because I don't think there's a vacation.
So like,
planned.
no, listen, like I'm trying to low-key, I'm trying to talk to my mom. Like,
we
hey,
definitely doing something for you.
Can we go to like Europe at least? Like, you know what I mean? Like, or you know, like I would love to go like Cape Town, South Africa.
Oh, that's awesome.
I would love to go there. I want to go to Europe. Like, can we go to Europe real quick? He went to Hawaii. Let me, you know what I mean? Like,
Hawaii was my birthday and Puerto Rico was graduation.
Bro. Hawaii was your graduation.
Hawaii was 2018, bro.
And when did you graduate?
2021.
Okay. Damn. I'm tripping.
Highly recommend. I think I'm going back out there.
We're kind of a little travel family.
What, for real?
A couple places.
I love it.
That's a goal. I want to kind of go to Europe for real.
That'll be my future family. My family in present day is not very big on traveling, so that's been something I've been finding out on my own, which is super cool. But now that I've been to a few places, I think they're getting a little jealous, and I would love to take them on my next trip with me. So trying to get something in the works.
Definitely, I love that. I want to, quickly go back to your internship real quick. We was at that bar Maniac or whatever, and I was just like very much, like kind of admired by you. You know what I mean? The different things that you did or whatever. I always admire that in a person. When it comes to your overall college experience or whatever. So talk about your internship. It was a watch company, right? Watchbox.
Yes.
And we talked about watches and all that.
Yep.
How did you kind of get it? And what was your overall experience? As an internship.
For sure. So I was employed as an intern from September until today, technically, as an intern at a company called Watchbox. We are headquartered in Bala Cynwyd. We are a secondary market for luxury watches, so everything from Omegas to Rolexes to FP Journes.
For sure.
Really catering our services towards clients that are interested in your higher price point watch. I like to say that every watch is the same, and there really is no difference between a Rolex or, let's say, I don't even know, a swatch. The movement's all the same. It's just adding all the pretty pieces and making the movements more complicated or however you do it. But prior to coming on board as a growth marketing intern, I really didn't have any knowledge about watches, and it wasn't something I was really interested in. I just saw this opportunity, this cool headquarters. We have a life-size sculpture of the Hulk in my kitchen, so that was really eye-opening in my interview. I was like, this place is definitely really freaking cool to work in. I should probably work here.
For sure.
So I was able to come in. I was learning a lot about paid advertising and paid social, so everything from building out ads to SEO work, which was a different side of marketing that I had seen before. Most of the time it was organic marketing, doing stuff internally, but this was my first time working with numbers, working with money, so it was a challenge, but I was able to really level myself within the organization and just put myself in a position of learning. I think that's the most important. And then through that, I'm lucky enough to work with a great team that lets me advocate for myself and my ideas. So I was able to establish a few ideas that turn into programs and just continue to advocate for myself, which has turned into a full-time role. So I'm taking a month off after graduation.
Yes, as you should.
Some time to myself. I would love to get some sun, go see some Morgan Wallen.
Exactly.
And then I'll be joining in June as a traffic and marketing coordinator. basically getting my hands in wherever I can. I'll be helping our creative and digital teams with a little bit of project management as well. On the other hand, working with our marketing team, kind of what I'm doing now, building out our social cadence and our strategy, and then implementing a program that I'm currently building with some of my amazing coworkers.
Wow,
so
bro.
excited to see the rollout of that, and of course being able to work with watches, which is now a hole that I have gone down way too quickly.
It's a big business.
It is a big business.
Like, I love watches, you know what I mean? I try my best to, get a watch whenever I can. Talk a little about, some of, the connections you've made. Like, what are those, as a college student, they kind of, like, your professors and all that, they preach network, you know what I mean? So was there any, like, special connection within Watchbox that you've made? What do you think, for you?
So going off of what you said, networking is everything. Networking is key. It's not what you know to sadly.
Yes.
In this world, I mean, knowledge is ongoing and you can always learn and there's always more to learn. But if you have that in tandem with knowing the right people, you're really putting yourself in a position of power, which is so crucial. I've been lucky enough to meet one of the most knowledgeable, talented people I know. His name's Griffin Barsh.
Okay.
Has a background in politics and just turned his passion into a career,
wow.
which is super admirable. But I've been able to work very closely with him within my organization, and then through his connections in the community, I've been able to meet other people. I've been to a watch meetup now, and then just talking to various client advisors that he trusts and believes in, and really expanding my knowledge on the industry itself, and then on watches and horology just in general has been so beneficial. And Griffin is an open book. He is always totally down to answer my questions, to hang out and just let me blabber about watches, and it's fun having someone that you can bounce those ideas off of. So I'm so thankful for that relationship, and I wouldn't have that relationship without work.
For sure.
Nice.
I
was about to ask, would you say like would you say the interactive portion of your role at Watchbox was more did you gravitate towards that more than your other roles in previous internships?
I would say yes. My previous internships, I was actually an intern at the university within their marketing and communications department. Then I was at a PE firm as a marketing intern.
Jack of all trades.
And then I was in Comcast within their product sales, support, and analysis. So it's 3 very separate areas of the business before I landed at Watchbox. And this is the first time that I was able to actually be passionate about what I was doing. Yes, I was learning and absorbing everything I was taking in, but it wasn't like, I get to go to my internship today and sit and look at an Excel sheet. Now it's like I get to go to work, and I get to work with these watches, and I get to learn more, and I get to talk to people in the company and go downstairs to our sales floor and learn more. And it's just, I think once you find something you love, they say you never work a day in your life.
Basically.
And for the past year, I really haven't felt like I was working. Yes, there's days where I do tasks that I'm not so favorable about. Like,
it's a job.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's always going to be things within a job, and in lack of a better term, that suck. Paperwork. No one likes to do paperwork.
Nope.
But that tiny 15 to 20% of my job is so worth the 80 to 85% of networking and learning and just projecting my ideas. And I think that is really what I'm looking forward to in a full-time position there.
Definitely. What do you think is like the most, because before going into the internship, you didn't really know about watches, right?
No, not at all.
What do you think is the most like thing you've learned so far within being at Watchbox, if that makes any sense?
Yeah, I would say horology itself.
What is it, real quick? What is horology?
Horology is the study of watches. So it's like everything that encompasses that industry. I would say horology itself, that there's so much complexity and diversity and innovation within watches, and that's ongoing. And I think that's what excites me the most, is it's always going to be a new idea. You're never going to as much as you do sort of reinvent the wheel, there's always little pieces that are added that make it just better. Because if you have a guy that has $1 million watch, he's probably going to buy another $1 million watch. So what's going to get your customer to want to purchase that? So I've been able to do that, but then also I've been able to learn a lot about the business. Being almost a startup mentality sort of company, everything's changing every single day. Nothing is ever stagnant. Nothing is ever the same. And you really have to be on your toes and ready to jump. And that's something that my leadership really projects onto our team is
Really?
it's a snap of a finger and something can change, and you really have to be able to overcome that adversity and just roll with the punches. And that's something that I love about my company, because no 2 days are ever the same.
Definitely. I want to go back to college real quick. You came in when you was during COVID. It was my freshman year. We had to leave. It was after spring break. We had to leave. Talk about that. Even with high school too. Like, how was that for you? Like, coming in here, COVID, didn't really know anybody. What was the most challenging part of that for you?
I think that the most challenging part is any college student entering a new journey. You're moving away from home. You're on your own for the first time. Some students, like myself, were financially independent. So it's navigating all of those life challenges while also having a different sense of academics. So I was navigating Zoom classes, but also trying to figure out how to keep up with my dishes and keep up with my laundry and all of these things. I would like to say that my college transition with COVID was a little bit easier just because everything was on Zoom and it was a little bit more relaxed.
Definitely.
But I also lost the second half of my senior year of high school to COVID, and I graduated, and the next 2 days, I believe 2 days after, I came to college. So
really?
It was very fast.
Jeez.
And in the moment, I was kind of thrown for a loop, and I felt kind of lost in the chaos. But looking back now, it's definitely funny to reflect on how I used to act and the way I used to process situations and how I've grown and evolved. So definitely believe that you have to grow through what you go through.
For sure. What? Are you kidding me?
What would you say is the most important thing, like non-academic related, that you learned throughout your 4 years of being here?
I think the most important thing I've learned throughout my 3 years in college was...
I'm sorry I said 4.
Oh, no. Oh, my gosh. No worries at all. It's so confusing because everyone's like, wait, what? And I'm like...
You're like, 4 years of college, but it's really 3.
Yeah, 3. Yeah. It's just having self-confidence within yourself and being deeply rooted in what you're capable of. I think for so long, I struggled with getting self-validation from others. I always needed to fit in, and I needed a group, and and all of these things. And I think those are challenges that people, especially within our demographic, and women specifically, there's kind of a social pressure and a social norm for that.
Definitely.
And that took a lot of self-reflection and self-awareness to kind of grow out of that, of like, who the cares?
Yeah, exactly.
Who cares what I'm doing? No, the spotlight is really not on you, and I feel like we live in a society where we have social media and TikTok and Instagram Lives, and you really think that the whole world is watching you at every single moment, but in all realness, that's not the truth, and you need to build that self-confidence within yourself of like, what I'm doing today will benefit tomorrow me, and that's all that matters. And if I mess up today, then tomorrow me can fix it, and who cares what other people think, because you can't change the opinions of others. They're always going to have an opinion on you, whether you're the most kindest, heartwarming person in the world, you could still be the biggest a-hole in their eyes.
For sure.
I always say, you're always going to be the villain in somebody's eyes.
Low-key,
why worry about what everybody thinks?
But
you don't even like everybody. So
exactly.
That's just our society. Like, we constantly want to be, not everybody, but want to be accepted. You know what I mean? Want to have that sense of validation from others, whether that's on social media or dealing with different likes. Hey, like, how many likes did I get? You know what I mean? Did anybody comment or whatever like that? You know,
it's understandable because it makes you feel human.
Exactly. So like to a certain point, you have to have like a well balance of it. You know what I mean? But at the same time, we're all human. Right. You know what I mean? Talk about like, what were some of the biggest struggles in dealing with that? You know what I mean? Like, how did you kind of get out of that? Whether if that's like I said, mental health is very big. Whether that's like trying to have like an outlet, whether that's working out, reading. Like I read a lot. I meditate and all that. So what is that for you? What is that outlet for you? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So throughout college, I was able to find a natural passion for fitness. Wow, my freshman year, I was totally by accident recruited.
Wait a minute. I'm sorry to cut you off. He ran, I think I saw on Instagram, he ran the Broad Street Run.
Yes, I did.
Congrats,
Thank you. 2 days ago.
Word.
So if you saw me limping a little bit, that's why I kind of messed up my ankle.
My bad to cut you off. I just had to mention that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I accidentally fell into rowing, and the sport in itself, I have so much respect for anyone that puts himself in that position. It's the hardest thing physically and mentally I've ever put myself through. And I had my fun. I was able to get a silver medal with my novice 8 boat my freshman year.
Definitely.
But one thing led to another. I got hurt, so I transitioned into weightlifting. And I really found comfort and like a sense of relief within the gym because it was just me against myself.
Yeah.
And that transitioned to, hey, like I want to challenge myself and run. I was never a runner. I played field hockey my whole life, and I would do like the 50-yard sprint. I'd be good. I'd be gassed. Yeah. Absolutely not. And then I signed up for Broad Street one night. Don't know why. And then I got picked in the lottery, and I was like, holy crap, I'm running 10 miles.
Wow. It just hit you like, oh,
yeah,
man.
So
let me prepare real quick, you know what I mean?
I trained definitely not as much as on paper I should have, but I was able to walk to the start from my house on Sunday and finish at the link on later Sunday morning. Yeah. It was honestly, besides the NFC championship, going down to Broad Street that night was electric.
Definitely.
But that was probably my second, if not tied for first, favorite day living in Philadelphia. Just the energy and the excitement from the spectators and everyone that's local to the neighborhood coming from their porches and watching, and the police force and the EMS and everything like that, and just the runners in general. Everyone was so uplifting and like, hey, you got this, and it didn't matter. And I was able to do way better than I originally thought. Really? And now I'm actually signed up for the half marathon.
Okay, look at
But no, just something that I never thought I would find peace in and comfort in, and to find that at the end and just be like, I did that.
Yeah.
Like, that was me. That wasn't anyone else. It wasn't a team. This was individual. I think has given me a lot of confidence, and again, kind of swaying away from like, I don't need the acceptance from other people. I need the acceptance of myself and my closest family and my closest friends, and that's all that matters.
For sure. I love that.
Just a quick question about running. What would you say is a specific like workout that you do that sort of improves your endurance as far as, because I never liked running, but when I worked my 9 to 5 last year, I gained weight, so I started running a lot to shed that weight. So what I recently started doing was hill sprints. You know, that big behind hill in Mill Creek. Mm-hmm. So that's exhausting because you gotta run up the hill, and then there's that little straight. I'm going off topic, but hill sprints for me is how I burn a lot of my calories. So what would you say is like a workout that you do that helps your endurance?
I would say endurance-wise is just, I guess when I was training for the run, I really put myself in a training plan. So, and I didn't follow it to the T, but I tried as close as I could just because I went to Europe in between and
You're never
Florida.
Gonna follow like all
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I would mix it up of doing longer distance runs, like a jogging, talking pace, and then doing like short distance runs at pace of what I wanted to run at the race, and then also cross training as well. It's so important. Within the fitness world, and if you're active, to work all of your muscles because they work in tandem with each other and you really want to prevent injury. So I was able to do it through that, and then really what got me through was the endurance on race day and the adrenaline. It was pure adrenaline.
Yeah.
That got me to the end. I slept so well Sunday night.
Okay.
But yeah, so just, I think consistency is key in building endurance, especially like for cardio.
You're a big stretcher? I got to stretch before and after.
So I wish I could say that I love to stretch, but I am very bad with that, and that's actually one of the things.
I used to be that's why I played basketball in high school, so that's how I got injured a lot.
Yeah, I'm definitely trying to be better. I unfortunately did not stretch after the run because I was so caught up in the chaos of finishing and getting through and getting warm because it was pouring rain, and then meeting friends, and then one thing you know, you're at lunch, and then you're back home and you're asleep, and it's the next day, and then you have a messed up ankle.
It's something you gotta just do. It's something you gotta just make it a habit of.
Definitely.
It really does affect, like, you know, you getting injured and you not getting injured.
Yeah.
You gotta stretch those muscles.
Definitely regretting it now.
For sure, I love that. But congrats, bro. That's a big thing.
Thank you.
It takes a lot of guts, you know what I mean? Not a lot of people can do that, you know what I mean? So
there are 10-year-olds out there.
Really?
If a 10-year-old can run it, I would hope that I could do
For
it.
sure. Low key. But you know, like, you know, I feel like you have a bright future ahead of you. You know what I mean? So talk a little bit about, you know, how do you think you've grown as a person throughout your college experience? Do you think like somewhat you matured a lot, you know, back in, like, you know, when you was in high school? Where do you think like you are right now for you? You know what I mean?
I think that I've grown tremendously.
Definitely.
I think if you really take yourself out of the situation and you look back, I think anyone can say that. You're going from the age of 19 to now I'm 21. So those are 3 solid years, and 3 years where a lot of things happened.
For sure.
I think that in sense of maturity, yes, I've kind of learned the adult life. Like, I'm very grateful that I don't need to rely on my family for things that I used to rely on, and they're able to focus on where their priorities need to be, and I'm able to support myself in that regard.
That's good, yeah.
So I'm very grateful for that. And then I just think as a human being, college changes you. You meet so many people, and I'm from a very small rural town in northern New Jersey where there's farms, and I love my hometown. I'm forever grateful for the place I grew up, but I can't see myself ever going back, because going to school in a place like Philadelphia where it's extremely diverse, and I wasn't really exposed to that in high school, it gives you a greater picture, and you learn to appreciate a lot more and appreciate a person for who they are in their entire journey. And I think that's something that I didn't have that perspective.
Yeah.
When I was 18 years old, I was very naive and almost ignorant in a sense in many different areas. And especially like throughout the past 3 years, we've had very impactful things happen within history and in our society, and you see these events happen and you reflect on them and you converse with colleagues or whoever you're talking to, fellow students, professors, and you really just gain a different view on the world. And I think I would not have gotten that unless I came to college. So I'm very grateful for that as well.
I love that. I know that you're a busy girl. You know, I want to keep you. I want to keep you here all day. So just a few more questions for you, just to get to know you a little bit and your overall college experience. Looking back, is there anything you think you would have changed differently for you? You know what I mean?
I would say if I had to change anything, I would have been my own authentic self the entire time.
I love that.
I think going back to what I said earlier of like always wanting to fit in, I think I aligned with organizations and friend groups that I wasn't 100% sure about, just because I wanted a sense of community.
For sure.
And I think now, having found a solid friend group and a community that I love, I think that you just need to wait and be patient. And I wish that I would have had more patience throughout my entire collegiate career instead of finding it towards the end.
Definitely.
Like being your authentic,
even
in your
when you're young too. Like you don't know, what's ahead of you. You know what I mean? So it takes a lot of guts to say that. You know what I mean? Because and
I wouldn't beat myself up about it either. Because like that's not something you're gonna figure out.
Yeah, of course. And I'm a big believer in you can't change the past. You can only change the future. So just having that self-awareness and that self-reflection and making impactful change and just little things in my everyday life has been so fun to see, and just seeing the quality of my life ever since I put the morals that are really important to me in the forefront has been so much fun. I definitely see the difference from when I was a small little freshman.
You should. Yeah, you should, definitely. What do you think? You're a senior. You're about to be out of here. You know what I mean? So, what do you think for you is like the best advice for incoming freshmen or anything else like that for people that are going into the senior year next year? What do you think is the best advice you can give to those students? You know what I mean?
I'm going to throw it back to my theater roots.
For sure.
In improv, there's a rule, and it's always say yes. Yes, and.
Yes.
And I think that's the rule you should live by. Yes, and. You never know what an opportunity will bring you unless you try. And if you don't try, you're never going to know.
For sure.
You can try something and simply say you hated it and never do it again.
Exactly.
But I think there's no harm in trying, and there's no harm in failing either. You have to fail 10 times before you get anything right, and no one's perfect. So why not try? And especially in college where that spotlight's not on you. You're not getting a Forbes article written on you. Why not start your own business? Why not start a sweatshirt company out of your townhouse? There's so many people doing random things that are so amazing just because they tried.
For sure.
So I think give yourself that opportunity to say yes and see what happens from it.
Definitely. I love that, for sure. Now let's go back to something a little bit fun, rapid fire. This is how we close out the podcast. You know what I mean? I want the people to get to know Hailey Minter.
Got it.
From Jersey, like we are. You know what I mean? So first question, okay? Let me see. What's a good one? What's the best concert you've ever been to? Have you been to a concert?
I've been to many concerts.
What's the best for you?
The best concert I have ever been to is probably Luke Combs. I saw him, God, I don't even know what tour that was, but it was last November at Madison Square Garden. He sold out 2 nights in a row, and it was absolutely insane.
Really? For sure. Would you say you're a country fan?
I like every genre of music. Yeah. There's really not a
What's your favorite? You got to pick one.
I always say that it's hard. But my favorite right now, I've been really into like hip hop R&B.
For sure, definitely. For sure.
You got a favorite artist in that?
Yeah, what's your favorite artist?
I really like Don Toliver lately.
Okay.
He's kind of been on my top. I feel like he's kind of hip hop R&B
Definitely.
depending on the style.
He's kind of both.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
for sure.
I would say so.
I love that.
It's good taste.
Definitely. What's your biggest pet peeve?
People that aren't clean. Like I'm very not
same.
Like
I'm
it
not
has to
gonna
be
lie.
clean. I get like everyone has their own style, but if it's not clean, like messy and clean are two different things. If you're dirty, absolutely not.
For sure.
Yeah, it's one thing to be messy. Being dirty is crazy.
Yes.
Yeah,
You can't be a grown man or woman.
Exactly.
No, absolutely
We're too grown for that.
Doesn't fly in my book.
Exactly.
Sure.
Favorite place you've traveled to? What's that favorite place for you? I mean, you came back from Europe, obviously. So, what's the favorite place for you? You think?
I would have to say Paris, France. I was able to see a different side of Paris than I think a lot of people do. The group that I traveled in while I was there was very small, and they really wanted to see what the locals experienced. So I got to experience this awesome.
It wasn't like
restaurant.
the touristy part.
No,
You just, okay,
yeah,
definitely.
my group decided to do more of the local experience,
that,
and
yeah.
we went to this restaurant that was featured on the New York Times top 30 list, and it was insane.
Really?
So I think being able to do that and not do all the touristy things was able to give me that perspective on Paris, and I can't wait to go back.
For sure, definitely. I feel like I know this answer for you. Would you consider yourself an introvert or extrovert? What do you think?
An extrovert. I love talking to people.
Same.
By
Same.
nature, my mom has always said I never shut up, and my dad always told me if I ever got kidnapped, they'd give me back once I start talking.
Dang, that's a good, that's for sure.
So yeah, I would definitely say an extrovert.
For sure. I love that. Same here. More introverted, right?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh, you already know.
For sure.
You know me.
I feel that.
Big introverted.
Do you enjoy your alone time? You're obviously extroverted. Do you enjoy that alone time to yourself?
I think alone time has been something I've been working on trying to enjoy. I feel like I have a very short attention span, and I don't know
Same.
if that's the environment that I've been in.
Same with me.
The society that we live in as well, where you have a 10-second TikTok video and then it switches.
Yep.
But something I'm trying to work on and being comfortable with being alone. But I would say in recent months, yeah, I very much have enjoyed my time
I
alone.
love that. A few more, okay?
Of course.
Now, this is a new one, I think. I didn't mention this on previous podcasts, whatever. It's, would you rather taste great food for the rest of your life and sacrifice your body for it? You're obviously in fitness and all that.
Okay.
Or would you rather have a great-looking body the rest of your life and not have great-tasting food for the rest of your life? Wait, that doesn't...
I know.
Or would you rather
Yeah,
have
I know what you're saying.
a great-looking body the rest of your life and not have great-tasting food for the rest of your life? What do you think? Dang, that's a hard one.
That's a good
So,
question.
no,
That's a hard one.
this is not hard for me.
Really?
So, as much as I do love health and fitness, and I'm very deep-rooted in it now, I'm also a foodie. And I
Same.
also come from an Italian family.
Yeah.
So I would
Talk about
100% sacrifice my body to eat some good food. If I
That's
could never
tough.
eat like a donut again, I'd be so upset.
For sure.
So
What?
I definitely would sacrifice the body for the food.
What do you think? That's a new one.
Man, I don't know, bro. I like my body, especially now since I've lost weight.
Mm-hmm.
Like I like. I'm picky. You know I'm picky, but like I love food, bro. Like I don't know.
I would have to go. I would have to go with
with
great food, bro. What? Are you kidding me?
I'll say great food for now, but it might be a different answer.
Imagine eating like bland chicken and rice for the rest of your life. Like
Oh,
you just
man,
wouldn't
no.
want to eat.
Oh, no, yeah, it
Exactly.
Food wouldn't be fun anymore, bro.
bro. For
I might have
real.
to take the food.
Definitely.
Food
Yeah,
is
I'm
part of
taking
the,
the food,
the
I'm sorry.
great experience of life.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Are you kidding me? What? Okay. Favorite movie of all time. You have a favorite movie?
I do have a favorite movie, and this is going to get a lot of unpopular opinions. I love The Wolf of Wall Street.
No. Same. Are you
What?
kidding me?
Not because I idolize
Best-
Jordan Belfort,
Right.
but because the way the movie was in production and
Yes.
just the acting and everything that they were able to shove into a 3-hour film.
Cinema.
Yep.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
It's so chaotic, and just the way that it was produced is mind-blowing to me.
For sure.
Love
And
that
it's
movie.
hilarious.
I love that
Big
movie.
comedy
Are you kidding me?
fan.
Definitely.
You're a
For sure.
Scorsese fan? You like his movies?
I do like his movies.
For sure.
What's your favorite?
Okay, my bad.
I'm sorry. What's your favorite Scorsese? I gotta know. What's your favorite Scorsese?
I don't know.
He produced a lot of movies.
A lot of great movies.
I would have to think about that one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
You
I'm
don't
also
gotta
not a
answer.
huge movie junkie. Like, there's a
Yeah.
select few movies that I love and
Yeah,
that I'll watch on repeat.
I don't know the amount of movies.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
like.
I'm
What the heck?
a
What-
movie
That's kind of
head.
that's kind of a like
I'm a
a
movie
trick
head, so I
question.
had to ask.
The heck?
Just in case if you knew. You don't
Word.
gotta
For sure.
You got a celebrity crush?
Oh yeah, since day one, Justin Bieber.
Okay. That's for sure. Okay, last one, okay? This is a good one. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where's that, 5-year mark for Hailey Minter? You know what I mean?
I think 5 years in the future is a little too far to put tangible items on.
For
but
sure.
I would say in 5 years, I want to be happy, confident within myself, financially comfortable and stable, and working towards what's next. I always want to be like, what's next in my 5 years?
For sure.
So I think just always having the upward trajectory of like, what's next and what's my next move, and just making sure that I'm able to do that while also being the best person that I can be.
Wow, I love that. So that's a good way to close it out. Hailey, I learned a lot from you during this podcast, and I appreciate you for coming on. Let's give her a little round of applause real quick.
Thank you for having me.
Sure.
Thank you.
I know you're busy, so I'm gonna let you get out of here real quick. You know what I mean? So, I appreciate you for coming on. Any last words for the people out there for you? Any last words? What's the last word for Hailey Minter?
Go Birds.
Right, for sure. Go Birds. You know what I mean? Go Birds, for sure. If you like the episode, feel free to give it a like, subscribe, share to your friends, whatever. Comment down below, because like I said in previous podcasts, I love talking to people. I love getting to know people's stories, just like you. You know what I mean? So, I'm open to talking to anybody, whoever wants to come on here, anybody. So,
let us know.
Words. So, that's it for this one. Stay tuned for the next one. So, and we're out for sure.